Hey everybody, Professor Reed here. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update. Also post another PowerPoint for you to serve as an example. But first of all, let's look at this document here. This is exactly the rubric I'm going to be using for your PowerPoint presentation. And basically, you can read this over as a rubric. But if you follow the example of the Tupac Shakur um, PowerPoint that's up on YouTube. Uh, that version is recorded last year, so same basic idea. And then this one I'm recording today, which is October 2nd, right, 2020. Um, Follow this uh, overview here with basically the rubric, but you can also just sort of look at the PowerPoint presentation now that follows. It's about this conspiracy called HAARP, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, one of the things I'm going to also post is a YouTube or a clip and also like a web page that's about recording sound in PowerPoint. I've had a little bit of success. That's how I make these videos. Um, Taking the PowerPoint documents and just basically talking into my laptop with it. So if you can do that, it'd be great. If you have some trouble with that, we'll have to try to figure out something else. But you definitely 100% want to get this in by October 5th, which is going to be Monday night, 11:59. So you got a couple days to do this. And in the past, I've heard students say that it takes them about half hour, 20 minutes to do. Now, if you have to record it, maybe a little bit more. But I don't think it's that daunting of a thing. So remember, you got the logical fallacy overview that I just put up last night. You got the quiz to take as well. Okay. So, and that's going to be the quiz is 10 questions, multiple choice, and it's open notes. All right. Okay, good. So you can see here the rubric. Make sure it's in PowerPoint or in Prezi, some sort of presentation, and then have this more traditional versus the alternative version of your chosen theory, and we'll look at that in a second. Document your sources. Now, you'll see at the end of this presentation there's actually a works cited page. That's great if you could do that. However, if you just want to copy and paste your sources on the last slide, that's okay as well. Sources describe and relate cause and effect of conspiracy theory also include conspiracy theory. The cause and effect graph in your presentation. So whatever graph you made, maybe take a picture of it and drop it into the PowerPoint. You can see here that this student actually made it in PowerPoint. It depends on how high your PowerPoint skills are. You may want to put that into PowerPoint, or you can just drop the picture and sort of insert it in. And then, uh, basically, you'll want to have, some discussion about it, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge with Canvas. I would say these PowerPoints shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to do. And then you'll want to also include a logical fallacy on your theory. And you can see an example of that in the Tupac presentation and in this one. And then we would have had a Q&A. So I'm probably just give you the points for that because, or maybe I can ask you a question in the comments section. Once again, another challenge of this COVID era that we're in right now, and then have a source page. And like I said, it doesn't have to be an MLA citation. However, if you do that, it'll probably make it a little bit easier to do for the actual paper. All right, good. So here's the title page. The student's name was Hunter. He was over at the school I teach at called Widener. I don't know if you ever heard of Widener as a school. Nice little institution there. And this is, I think, from 2019, this spring, the fall of 2019. So, student, if he has a chance to see this, great job with his paper as well. But he looked at this conspiracy around HAARP. I guess that's the way it's pronounced. HAARP. And basically, the idea is that there is this military base. I want to say it's an Air Force base up in Alaska, and there's some people that believe it's used to control the weather. Okay, so there is a actual Air Force base there. I want to say also that they opened it up a couple years ago for tours. Maybe that sort of like calms people down, believing that it's some sort of conspiratorial Air Force base. However, I want to say that when Hunter did his research on this, he actually started believing it a little bit. I don't know if he went full on HAARP paranoid, but he definitely sort of formed an opinion about it. So you can see here, for in terms of the of the presentation. Just give it a cover page. Okay, there you go. Now he has a nice little cause and effect graph here. So he basically just took his cause and effect graph he had created on paper, like you did, and then he put it into this PowerPoint. Remember, you can cut and paste it, whatever's easiest here. If you got mad PowerPoint skills, by all means, go for it here. But the key is he basically had the causes on one side, and the effects on the other, and he has a little dark cloud there in the middle. Okay, so fear of weapons of mass destruction. Now, there's some people that believe that HAARP was involved. They used HAARP to control the weather. So some of the people believe that it's part of climate change. It's sort of used in that way. It's really fascinating because during the Katrina hurricane that happened during the Bush two's administration, a lot of people said that they had manipulated the weather. Not a lot of people, but certain conspiratorial people had said they had manipulated the weather there. Um, Lack of explanation of its research is a really good point. So like this is sort of similar to Area 51. There's a military base with maybe some covert types things going on there, and they don't release the information to a general public. So people sort of assume there could be something sort of evil going on there. And then concerns about the environment, and then public figures backing the conspiracy as well. So that's the causes side, and this is what you'll want to do for your paper, just like you did in your graph that you made. And some of these were really amazing that you guys did in the class. And then the effects are going to be a lack of government trust, doomsday preppers. So there's people that believe sort of in the end times. Now, I think the doomsday preppers could be the name of a band as well, but I would say with COVID, there's going to be probably that's on the increase. Okay, I want to say sort of like our issue we had with toilet paper back in April was probably related to that, and then blaming natural disasters on the weapon. Okay, so one of the things about the paper that can be a little bit tricky is that an effect can also be a cause, right? So lack of government trust could also be a cause for why someone believes in that. For the paper, try to make sure that you sort of separate these and look at cause and effect. Your thesis statement basically comes out of this. Okay, so you could say that the cause of a belief in a conspiracy theory is fear of weapons of mass destruction, and the effect is a lack of government trust. Okay, so I know a few people, a few students in their cause and effects graph. They looked at, like, I had a few students write about climate change, right? And so they basically did a cause and effect on actual climate change. Like they looked at CO2 levels, and then they had the effects of maybe greenhouse emissions being rising. One of the things to sort of stress about this paper, and it's a nuance to it, but you want to try to look at causes and effects of the conspiracy side, and if you think about that, you got to tweak. Like if you write about climate change, you'd want to look at maybe people not believing in science, and then the effects could be an increase in CO2 emissions because they don't take proper steps. Okay, now so you're looking at not necessarily climate change per se, but like a belief in sort of a conspiracy about it. Okay. All right, good. Now you've got another graph that you can do here. I mean, this is part of the rubric, but you got the sort of official side and conspiracy side. I always, I try to stay as neutral as possible in the class, but I actually have it in the rubric being the official side versus the alternative side. Okay, because so I would say all of us have a little level of conspiracy in us. So what you want to do is on the left side, you can see Hunter just basically put like what the official sort of party line is about HARP, and then on the other side, he put the conspiracy side. Now, what this will do, this will translate to a paragraph in the paper where you sort of give some background information. And I would say that this is where you'll probably find some crossover a little bit with the first essay that you wrote. Now, a few students have written and said, "Hey, Professor Reed, they've written via email and said, do I have to write about the same conspiracy I did for the first one? No. In fact, you can completely change it. However, I would say like 70%, maybe 65% of people end up, or students write about the same one because it makes it a little bit easier. Now, that being said, you may find a conspiracy that's very similar. I would say HARP conspiracies could be sort of related to maybe a climate change type of conspiracy. There are I've had a few papers on other types of weather events that people have seen as being sort of conspiratorial. Some of those tsunamis that occur in certain parts of the world. There's a few people that believe they were caused by American military testing. So you can also think about some of these conspiracies that are a little bit connected, and maybe you can pull off some of the research. But if you wanted to do a completely different one than your first paper, by all means you can do that. We just want to make sure we don't overload anybody with any work or research. And for this paper, you can use the library overview that was created for us. You can look at that, and you can draw off some of the sources there, but you basically want to have a slide dedicated to, that looks at the official side, sort of the standard line, and then the alternative or sort of conspiracy side. All right, good. Now he put in a picture there. That's actually the HAARP. It stands for High Frequency Active Oral Research Program, and you can see there that he got a little picture of it, and basically, like I don't know. It looks sort of like a Christmassy type of scene to me, but that's like I said, it's a actual base in Alaska. Okay, now, so what you want to do as well is you want to take a second and just summarize your causes. So go back to your graph and just try to like look at all the causes you have. I would recommend you have at least three, which I think most everybody had in the PowerPoint presentation, and then summarize your causes there and try to like put that onto a single slide. Okay, so go back, look at your causes, and summarize it, and then hopefully by doing that, you should have a pretty good feel for like the direction of the paper. The presentation is trying to serve as like a form of an outline for the paper. Okay, good. And you can see here the hunter he put in uh, a patent, and then the HAARP transmitter. So he was sort of breaking down the way theoretically that they could control the weather. Now I want to say also that a few students have written about this before in the past. I would say that um, there's a few components to this. It's like there's some scientific side to it as well, and I want to say that there have been a few incidents where the United States has tried to control the weather. So some people would say, well, if they tried it once, they tried it again. Okay, so he could have possibly added in like this sort of analogous type of thinking. I did now the same thing with the effects. Okay, and go back and do the same thing you did for the causes. Summarize the effects. Okay, so if you look at the rubric, that's something you got to do, and a paragraph is good here. Um, like one of the things that's pretty interesting about the HARP program was that um, with the certain people in the Philippines or in that part of the world, sort of that Pacific Island area, believe that there was some weather manipulation there as well. So you're just going back and you're looking at the actual effects and summarizing that. And then the goal of this is that, by doing that, that should turn into some forms of paragraphs. Okay, good. Now, the sort of the key one here is that you want to really focus on this. Like, put an example of fallacy here in your presentation and apply it to your conspiracy. Okay, so you can see here what he did was he actually cut and pasted from the PowerPoint, and it's the slippery slope, which is a great one to use, right? And he said basically the slippery slope fallacy applies to this conspiracy because people believe that just because they have technology to be able to make small changes in the atmosphere, that they can also make changes and that they will. Okay, so um, slippery slope fallacy, you're going to weave that into the paper. Now that's going to give the paper a slight argumentative paragraph to it. But for the majority of the paper, you want to be neutral, especially in the thesis statement. You're going to look at the causes and the effects, and then with your fallacy, applying it to the conspiracy, you want to give the definition and then just sort of explain it in this slide here. Okay, so that's like 20 points of this, and I will say this: it's something that sometimes students just forget to do. The goal of this is that you're going to actually build a paragraph that ties in the fallacy. And some people actually use fallacies in the thesis. They'll go, oh, like a belief in HAARP is tied to multiple fallacies, and the effects are, A, B, and C. So it is an opportunity to sort of weave it into the thesis. But you definitely want to put a slide for this in the presentation, and um, you want to actually develop a paragraph for this in the paper. I get, and there's a works cited page. Like I said, you don't have to necessarily put it in uh, MLA citation. He did, Hunter did, but you can uh, copy and paste there. I will say that, and you can also for this you can use Wikipedia as a website. In fact, I would. And I'm gonna try to post a few more up. I don't think I'm gonna do any more that have sound to them, but they'll just sort of give you like a snapshot for how to do these. Um, due Monday. I'm gonna create a Dropbox for them. Email me if you got any questions, and I can try to. A lot of great questions come out of you guys. In addition, if you want office hours, I know that's a challenge with office hours. Just email me. We can set up a Zoom call. Whatever support help you need. I know sometimes Canvas can feel a little isolating. We're all on Canvas all day, but if you can also look at uh, the the link that I'm going to put on to Canvas for it'll be in the announcement section for how to add audio for it. It's I think it's pretty straightforward, but if you could actually record yourself talking sort of like this, it would make the presentations actually pretty good. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to do a thing where I actually split up um, the presentations and have you all basically sort of go through and watch somebody else's. Okay, so that's it. Email me if you got any questions, and talk to you soon.